Welcome back to Joe's Astrology, and I'm talking about composite astrology in this video. We have synastry and we have composite. Composite astrology is when we take two charts and we put them together and it makes a new chart. So essentially, when you create a relationship between two people, they become a couple. This is the energy. This is the energy, the life experience, energy and the life experience of the couple. That's what this is. And I'm looking at Beyoncé and Jay-Z. You know, many of us want to look at the synastry. Synastry is way more popular than the composite. We could think of Libra versus Scorpio. Everyone likes Libra from that standpoint. No one likes Scorpio. Everyone likes Libra. Everyone likes to flirt. Everyone likes to have short-term relationships, flings, one-night stands, etc. And no one likes Scorpio. No one likes to merge. Well, I shouldn't say no one. Some people do. Some people don't like the Libra. They like the Scorpio. But I would say a lot of people watching these videos, a lot of people in general, they don't like to merge. That's what Scorpio does. It merges. That's what the composite chart does. It creates a new life, so to speak. And that can be scary because this is a real phenomenon. It creates a new life, and a lot of people lose their independence because of this. So without going too further into that, let's look at Jay-Z and Beyonce's composite chart and see how this works. So I'm going to put their chart up on the screen now. And this is the first time I'm looking at this chart. I only know a little bit about them as a couple. And we could say a couple things before I look at it. We could say that a couple things I read is that they're listed as one of the most iconic couples of all time. They're considered a powerhouse couple. And this is a couple who has, I believe, worked together. They're both musicians, and they make a lot of money. They're about making money. That's what they do. You could say some other things about them. At the end of the day, when we're looking at the raw energy, they're making money. This is what they're in business together. So let's take a look. They have a first house stellium, and the stellium there is in Libra. Pluto, Jupiter, Sun, Moon, and Uranus, all in the first house. So what does that mean? Well, we have a combination of the first house, and Libra, and then we have all those planets involved. So let's just start with the first house in Libra, Mars and Venus. So we're talking about a couple that is interested in their self-image. And their self-image looks good. Venus. And this is true. This is an ambitious couple. This is an adventurous couple. This is a powerhouse couple. Well, we could look at the 8th house and Scorpio as being power. But what do we have there? We have the ruler of Scorpio right there on the ascendant. Powerhouse couple. And Pluto there in one of the strongest positions that Pluto can be in the chart. It's there in the first house, 5 degrees off from the ascendant, and it's conjunct Jupiter. Jupiter expands. Jupiter is 11 degrees off of Pluto in the first house. The sun is there, and so is the moon. And so is Uranus. So looking at this idea of them being a powerhouse couple, their image, them together as a couple, we have Pluto, Jupiter, Sun, Moon, and Venus, the ruler of the Libra there. So a lot of powerful planets. I think of the most powerful planets in the zodiac, the ones that shine the brightest. Jupiter, the Sun, and potentially the Moon. The Moon, add the emotional element. You know, how many people relate to these people as a couple? And just that lineup right there, Jupiter, Sun, and and moon all in the first house is really, you're seeing a pleasant, attractive couple, Venus, shine brightly, Jupiter, Sun, influencing the public, moon. And it's all there in a stellium. Stelliums can often represent power as well, because a stellium there's a lot of energy in that space. And then add Uranus. Uranus is at 2 degrees of Scorpio. And if we add Uranus, this is a dynamic and electric energy that this couple has. And I don't even need to explain myself. Can anybody deny that all of these things are true? A powerhouse that's dynamic and electric. Second house, there's Venus. And Venus is in Scorpio, and it's making a conjunction to Uranus. And then we have Mercury at 12 degrees. So that's even that stellium in general. We have about 30 degrees between Pluto and that Venus and that stellium. It's very tight there. And even the planets that aren't in Scorpio, outside of that stellium, aren't inside that stellium, they're slightly on the outside, they're in Scorpio, and they're in the second house. So we're talking here about the second house, especially with Venus in the second house. As far as I'm concerned, being mega rich, a couple things I'm looking for to have some significators of big money, or a life that is about money that you already have. That would be Venus in the second. I would also consider Venus in the eighth as well, but Venus in the second by far. And where do they have Venus in the second? In Scorpio. And the south node is in Scorpio as well, in the second house. So if we look at the second house, we have this idea of big money, and we have Venus there, we have Mercury there, and we have the south node. Now we can look at the north node, which obviously would be in Taurus, which is also a money sign, and it's in the 8th house. So here we have the second 8th house axis. And we have Taurus and Scorpio there on that axis. We have the north node, the moon's nodes on that axis. And we have Mars in the 8th house. Where's their drive? Where's their energy coming from? Where do they wake up every day that gets them excited to move, gets them excited to take action? And it's Mars in Taurus, the money sign, in the 8th house of other people's money, business, contracts, social contracts. There's two more planets left that we're going to look at. Saturn, and Saturn is in the 10th. Now Saturn's in Cancer in the 10th, and you could say, Saturn's in its fall in Cancer. Well, I'd rather have Saturn in its fall than in no place at all that it likes or dislikes to be. And that is because the polarity is Capricorn, and the polarity inherently exists in where that planet is, and on top of that, it's in the 10th house. So we're talking about a couple with Saturn in the 10th, the pinnacle of the chart in the 10th. As I said, those planets in the first, very important. Pluto there, very important. Saturn in the 10th. This is going to make that Saturn a lot stronger than it seems to be, in that it's in Cancer. So this is a couple who takes this seriously. They would be the couple that would grow old together. This would be a couple that, again, would look at their status as a couple, as being like a symbol, as being a status symbol. That's what they would look at them being a couple. Like a lot of people, if you think of you might even look at this couple and say, well, they're Jay-Z and Beyonce, that's why. Well, here it is in the chart. We have a majority of the planets in the 1st and the 10th. So this is a chart where this couple, they care about what they look like. So they're going to take their marriage seriously. They're going to take this idea of being together seriously. Last planet here, we have Neptune. It's in the 3rd. And Sagittarius is on the 3rd house cusp. So with Neptune there on the third, we said that they have this musical ability. We think of the third with communication, and what are they really communicating to people as a couple? Well, they're communicating that they are musicians. They are communicating music. Essentially, that's their main deal. They're into, you could say that they're into creating. You think of Neptune using their imagination. As a couple, they create together. They probably made songs together, I'm sure. And that's it. It's a very, on the surface, it's a very tight chart. And we can look at some of the aspects. They do have that Mars in the 8th is making an almost exact aspect to Pluto. Almost exact in conjunct aspect to Pluto. So we have, and it's a Scorpio in conjunct. What that means is it's going to give some need to make an adjustment when it comes to Scorpio energy. And what are we talking here? We're talking about Scorpio energy. Some kind of an adjustment in order to present themselves as powerful, to gain power, to gain money, to grow their enterprise. And I wouldn't be surprised if this couple behind the scenes has sat down at a table just like this and discussed their strategy on how they're going to do this, why they're going to do it, when they're going to do it, how they're going to do it, what it's going to look like, etc., etc. Now, this is also giving another in conjunct to Neptune. So we actually have a yod between Pluto, Neptune, and Mars. And that between Neptune and Mars is the Virgo in conjunct. So what we're looking at there is kind of a lot about what I just said. This idea of an adjustment. How are we going to tweak this? How are we going to improve this? What kind of work are we going to do to make this Scorpio aspect of all this happen? And there's an opposition between Mars and Venus. So this can bring, and it's in the 2nd and the 8th. So this can bring a very dynamic and electric and heated relationship as well. Very sexy. Think of some of the other keywords. Explosive, heated, passionate. That can, you could think, especially in the 2nd and the 8th, that could be dangerous as a couple. But, from a synastry standpoint, but as a couple, this is what they're presenting to the public. And the public eats that up. The public loves that. Because, that can create drama, etc. But there's no drama here. This is just what they look like. This may even be what they're presenting to the public through their music. I'm not sure. But as a couple, this works for them. Because this is going to increase their bank accounts, which is what we're talking about here. And it's going to add more attention to their image. So as a couple, we can see, I don't know much about their children. The 5th house is ruled by Uranus. I think they have 2 or 3 children. So their children, we have to look at their children and see what kind of Aquarius, what kind of people they are. They do have Uranus conjunct Venus there. The ruler of the Aquarius is conjunct Venus. So this could give, you could say that would be some indication of having children, Venus being maybe some indicator of children. They do have Venus and Neptune in a semi-sextile, an exact semi-sextile aspect. Venus and Neptune together. Venus is exalted in Neptune. Them together, that energy together, that Pisces energy coming together very nicely would explain them as a musical couple. and we just look at Neptune in general, it's making a semi-sextile to Venus, Mercury, that Mars, as I mentioned. And it's also making it an almost exact 2 degrees off a quintile. A quintile is a talent aspect, so them as a couple between their ascendant, which should be, again, coming back to their image or what they're looking like on the surface of things, that they're looking like a talented musical couple. How perfect is that? There's maybe a few more things here. I'm going to leave it there for now. But that is the composite chart. Maybe kind of reminding or coming back to this idea that the composite is a whole new energy between a couple. And I think this is why, well, this could be the reason why you see couples kind of like living in Groundhog Day. And you see couples going through this where it gets boring, it gets stale, and they have to kind of reinvent themselves. And if you're not really conscious of all this and you're just living life, you're not really that aware, you could fall into this trap. And I say it's a trap because it can be very boring, and then you can use that as your reason why the relationship isn't working, because it's boring. You're doing the same things over and over again. So like if you're Jay-Z and Beyonce, they essentially are doing the same thing over and over again. Think about what they're doing. They're making music, they're singing, giving concerts, presenting themselves, doing all this advertisements and whatever else these people do to make money. But in their case, because they're celebrities, they might feel like this is so exciting because there's so much excitement around everything that they do. And where someone else's life might be, the composite might be very boring or seem very boring. And really the key there is to just change up what you're doing, or even at best, if you really want to change it, let's say you have the Jay-Z and Beyonce composite, you might transform that money, going after that money, into doing artwork. Or the music, you might change it to doing artwork and dabble in something new, some new art form that you haven't touched before. And maybe that's enough to change what you're used to. So the kind of the composite is like you could be going into it as what's the word? Like you're going into it, I say without thinking about it, like just letting it happen, but now you become conscious. Like, this is our life. This has been our life for 20 years, 10 years. Let's do something about it. And this is where you start to play with this idea of Venus and Neptune and play with this artistic ability and change the art form and see what that does. See how that changes the relationship. And maybe that doesn't do it. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's the kind of work that they do. Maybe they're doing all of this work to promote the self. And we might even take that Neptune energy and start to, at some point in the life, start to serve others, start to create, like this couple, Jay-Z and Beyonce, might start to create foundations, charitable foundations, might start to take all the money that they've earned and start to move it into other avenues where they might find themselves not producing money but giving it away now, serving underprivileged people, helping them to create a an abundant, sustainable community, 11th house, in certain areas of the world. So these are the certain things that people, you can see their composite chart, how it starts, and it can also change, which I didn't really get into in their chart, but it can also change over time. And that is, I would say, that is how a successful couple uses that composite energy and really walks and flows with that energy as they get older. So that's the composite chart. If you made it this far, please subscribe to the channel. Forgot to say this, I should have. I know most of you watching this have never had an astrology reading, and I'm telling you from my personal experience alone, it's definitely worth it to look at your chart specifically. If you haven't done it before, you will be very surprised, especially with a reading with me. I can tell you, even if you've had a reading with someone else, I can tell you, you will be shocked at the value that you will receive. Far more valuable than if you're liking these videos, for sure. So check that out on my website, and hope you have a great day.